Core i7, 16 GB RAM, 512 GB SSD, 55K? What? Yes, when I first checked out the pricing of these new Infinix laptops, I was surprised. I mean, if you don't already, let me just tell you the pricing of these new laptops right away. See, the Infinix InBook X1 series actually comes in three variants. 36K for the Core i3 8GB and 256GB variant, 46K for the Core i5 8GB and 512GB variant, and 56K for the Core i7 16GB 512GB variant. Now that is very good pricing, but the big question is it too good to be true? Are there any cost cuttings? Well, we have the Infinix InBook X1 laptops right here with us, so let's find out. So these are the new X1 laptops, and apart from these two colors, it's also available in a red finish. Also, one thing to note here is that apart from the processor, the GPU, RAM storage, and the fingerprint scanner, which is only present in the X1 Pro, all the X1 laptops are almost the same in terms of design, ports, speakers, battery charging, etc. Now, I will talk about the design, but first I want to address the elephant in the room, the specs. Now, I know I already told you about the variants, but I'm sure you want to know the detailed specs in these laptops. So this is the X1 Pro, the Core i7 variant, and let me tell you straight away that the chipset here is not 11th gen. Instead, it's the 10th gen Ice Lake 1065 G7 chipset with 4 cores, a base clock speed of 1.3 GHz with boost up to 3.9 GHz, and there's the Iris Plus G7 GPU. The RAM is 16GB LPDDR4X 32MHz RAM, and there's 512GB of PCIe NVMe 3.0 SSD, which is soldered. Now, I honestly like the fact that there's plenty of RAM and storage here, especially the RAM, because most laptops come with 8GB RAM in this price range. Now, talking about the 10th gen Core i7, I know it's an older chipset and it won't outright beat the Core i5 11th gen chipsets like the 11300H or 1135 G7, which are part of the Mi Notebook Pro and the Realme Book. But the 10th gen Core i7 chipset here is something that should bring comparable performance. See, I've only had the laptop for a day, so I haven't had the time to run any benchmarks, do any tests, but with normal browsing, moving files, the usual usage, the laptop is snappy. The base clock speed, like I said, is 1.3 GHz, so the laptop is mostly silent when it comes to fan noise. Now, we did try out Photoshop on the laptop. Here we are editing a photo with multiple layers and whatnot, and the performance on the laptop is very good. I mean, I've noticed a lot of laptops lag while using Photoshop, so I'd say this is very good. And this makes me think that this is a laptop that should be able to handle a lot of intensive apps and software. Now, talking about software, the Infinix InBook X1 Pro comes with Windows 11 pre-installed, and I like that there's no weird antivirus apps pre-installed. It's always the biggest pain I have with Windows laptops. Now, as for thermal performance, again, we haven't done any tests, but let me tell you that this laptop has two heat pipes, these grills for heat dissipation, the silent fan at the bottom, and I also noticed this rubber feet. Anyway, coming to the design, this is a laptop that looks pretty nice and sleek. It's got this aluminum finish all around in a very seamless unibody design, and it looks very good. I especially like this dual tone design on the back with a little gradient, which makes the whole design kind of stand out. Plus, this is a proper Ultrabook. It's pretty slim with a thickness of around 16mm, and it's very portable with a weight of around 1.48 kg. Moreover, I think the build quality of this laptop is pretty solid for what is a budget laptop. I mean, there's no weird flex anywhere, and there's also no weird creaks anywhere. So yeah, pretty solidly built. Now, one thing is you can't open the lid with one hand, but I like this little cutout at the top to help you open up the lid. Now, opening up the lid brings you the display, which is pretty nice. It's a 14-inch 16:9 IPS display with FHD resolution, 100% sRGB color gamut, and 300 nits of peak brightness. And I also like that there are minimal bezels on the top and the sides. Now, what I don't like is the big bezel at the bottom of the display. But apart from that, I think this display is quite nice for a budget laptop. The matte finish means it's not very reflective, and I like the vibrancy of the panel. I mean, just look at the colors in the display. I also like the fairly high contrast, and even though at 300 nits, it's not the brightest laptop display, but it's better than a lot of other budget laptops. Also, the screen here can be tilted to 180 degrees like this. And apart from that, one thing to note is that by default, the display has this kind of cool color tone, but it can be easily fixed in the settings. Anyway, the bezels are narrow, but Infinix has managed to put in a 720p webcam on the top, which, like most laptop webcams, is average in terms of quality. Below the display is this keyboard, which is a backlit keyboard with 2 brightness levels. Now this is a chiclet keyboard and I like the layout, especially the regular sized arrow keys, and the typing experience here is decent. I mean, the feedback from the keys isn't extraordinary, but it's something I can see myself getting used to. Below the keyboard is the trackpad, which is fairly big, and the surface of the trackpad is kind of rough, but it's responsive, supports Windows gestures, and the left and right keys have good feedback. There's also a fingerprint scanner on the side, which like I said is only on the i7 variant. Now adding a finger took a lot of time, which I think might be a bug, but other than that, it works fine. Now coming to the ports, there are almost no compromises here. On the right there are 2 USB-A ports, the 3.5mm jack for mic or headphone, and a micro SD slot. On the left there are 2 USB-C ports with one supporting PD charging and display port. Then there's another USB-A port, an HDMI port, and the DC charging port, which is strange since the laptop comes with a USB-C charger. Now one cool thing here is this hardware-based privacy switch, which cuts off power supply of both the camera and the mic from the motherboard. So I can just do this, and as you can see the camera and mic is disabled. So yeah, this is pretty useful. The speakers here are also very interesting. There are 4 speakers, 2 on the top and 2 here on the bottom. Now unlike a lot of budget laptops, the speaker here can get pretty loud. Just listen to this. I mean, this is good, right? I mean, the quality is not the best, but for budget laptop speakers, I think these are pretty good. Lastly, the battery on the X1 Pro is a 55 watt battery, which is kind of modest, but Infinix claims 13 hours of continuous video playback on this. When it comes to charging, I like this compact USB-C PD charger that Infinix has bundled in the box, along with a USB-C to C cable. Now this 65 watt charger is said to take the laptop from 0 to 70% in 55 minutes, which sounds pretty good. Now to conclude things, after trying out the Infinix InBook X1 and the X1 Pro, one thing is clear to me. These are super value for money laptops. I mean, the value here is insane because from the looks of it, Infinix hasn't really cut any corners when it comes to design or the display, or even the ports, speakers, keyboard, trackpad. You get the idea. Now 10th gen chipsets in these laptops are kind of debatable, but then there's the great pricing from Infinix. And this is where I want to know what you guys think of these laptops, so make sure to comment down below. Also, give this video a like, make sure to share it, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing tech videos. Well, that's me signing off. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.